By the mid-1970s, instrumental experimental jazz rock was everywhere around the world, with hundreds of purveyors in Europe, South America, the Far East, North America, and UK. And thankfully, one of the bands that started it all was still relevant, still putting out great music. I am talking about Soft Machine. And from their ninth album, Softs, released in 1976, the track Ban Ban Caliban. Like Ratledge there on the synthesizer. Yeah, he was guesting on the band because he had left by this point, wasn't officially a member anymore. Hear that vibra slap? Got quite a shaky, rattling rhythm right there by John Marshall against a very persistent bass line by Roy Babbington, who left the band right after this album was released. John Marshall appears to be, or it sounds like he's playing some mallets here. Yeah, I don't see anyone else credited with, yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of vibes, or no, a little bit of marimbas, like rising ever so slightly. That is the sax work of Alan Wakeman, who had just joined the band, and he is the cousin of Rick Wakeman. Yet he was only in the band for like 6 months in 1976. Quite a persistent groove here in F sharp. In 2/4. With some odd beats that are playing like over the bars. Apparently, it seems like because it kind of feels like every like third is being accent, but I'm actually, I guess it's just twos really. Well, what I meant by that is that if this was to be taken as 4/4, the emphasis would be on the third because there's this wallop on the third, it seems. But I guess it's really just supposed to be twos. Alan Wakeman's really scaling up and down this like monochordal figure that we're in. The rhythm, the drumming's really starting to kick up some dust and debris here. Yeah, hear all that cymbal spray. It's kind of like blowing up smoke in a way. Now that is quite a change there. Yeah, it really does feel like we've been thrown into a twister. It should be noted that there is an inspiration to this track. It's Caliban, son of the witch, Sycorax, is an important character in William Shakespeare's play The Tempest. His character is one of the few Shakespearean figures to take on a life of its own outside Shakespeare's own work. As Russell Hoban put it, Caliban is one of the hungry ideas. He's always looking for someone to word him into being. Caliban is a necessary idea. Half human, half monster, after his island becomes occupied by Prospero and his daughter Moran. Okay, that kind of goes into the plot. And because like the character, the first track on the album, Albaid, drawn from John Donne's poem, The Sun Rising. All these are like reference, kind of go back to old like English and Welsh literature of like the 16th through 19th century thereabouts. Oh, even much further back to Greek mythology, all this, and the whole first side makes reference to characters from like literature, classic English literature, and Greek mythology. Although that's not necessarily to say that the passages we're hearing were inspired by any specific passages in the Tempest. down this Caliban page, there is this really spooky photo of an actor, a photo from 1905, Fyodor Paramanov, theatrical performer, as Caliban in The Tempest. Malley Theater, spooky. Oh, and here we got a painting. Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo dancing. I like it. It's like two little, a little character, a little like kind of gargoyle, and two guys like in folkloric costume, garb. Yeah. John Etheridge right there on guitar. John Etheridge pulling off quite a good solo right there, considering the shoes he was filling. He replaced he replaced Alan Holdsworth in the band, who had played on Bundles, and John Etheridge was fresh off stints with Gong, and before that Darrell Way's Wolf. Yeah. Had a real visceral, like, rhythmic element to them by this point in their development. Like, I really can't imagine the earlier Soft Machine being able to work up this much energy and momentum, just sticking to the same key for so long. Like back say like in 68, 69, no. They would have needed like a lot more chord changes to hold your attention and to really keep the momentum going. But there have been very few key changes in this track. And there we hear Mike Ratledge right there at the end, kind of submerging things once again, those kind of watery tones. As far as make, model, the only information I have is Mini-Moog synthesizers, but that's credited to Karl Jenkins. I don't know necessarily what Mike, but Mike, this is one of 2 tracks that Mike Ratledge guests on, so I assume that he's holding that the more odd, unusual sounds that we were hearing were his, because Karl Jenkins also plays electric piano, pianette, and string synthesizer. Yeah, that was Band Caliban by Soft Machine, and we mostly kind of like 3 main parts: the strange intro, electronic intro, rhythmless, then going into the like kind of like locked groove that served as the main framework of the song in F sharp. With a lot of like nimble, persistent bass work and drumming and subtle percussion touches, and then going into that more intensive midsection passage with some lightning fretwork by John Etheridge there, and for a minute there I got distracted reading up on what turned out to be a very huge wiki entry on Caliban, and a little bit too much for me to try and work into this. Yeah, there's a whole all I'm going to say is that without a more quantified meaning of the essence of what that name is supposed to invoke, or quantified explanation of what the name is supposed to invoke, I'm just going to assume that it inspired the track in some way, even if I can't necessarily say that the musical passages we heard were supposed to animate the arc of the character's saga in Shakespeare's The Tempest. And I'm speaking as someone who took one undergrad course on William Shakespeare at Portland State University, and that wasn't one of the plays that was covered in that course. Anyway, so no further comment for now. Anyway, for more rubies and sapphires from the catalog of Soft Machine, see the directory of albums by English S artists linked in the description below, where you can see red hot tracks and tasty purples from all the Soft Machine albums from 1968 to 1981. And from there you can go to other letters in the alphabet to in the alphanumeric English directory to see various spin-offs and solo projects, and like and subscribe and follow me on social media, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about this track, the layers, the musicianship involved, or any ideas about what may have inspired it, or in relation to Caliban that I may have missed. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most air travel trimaximalist, signing off.